Welcome to A Taste of AZ podcast, where we interview everyone from James Beard award-winning chefs to local mixologists, winemakers, breweries, and so much more. We've got an awesome episode lined up for you today. But before we get into that, head to atasteofaz.com so you can subscribe to our quarterly magazine and email newsletter to find all of the best places to eat and drink around town. Don't forget to follow us on social media. Now let's get into the episode.
All right, Kevin, thanks for having us in, man. We've been trying to lock this down for a little bit, and we did it, man.
We did it, man.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
For sure. This place is beautiful. The decor, the vibe, you're awesome.
I mean, it's like the most I could done with the littlest amount of money, and that's what I did, and it just worked out the way
that's
it
what
was.
It's about, man, right? It's the heart and soul. That's what we love about food and beverages. You know, people taking those steps and you know, working your ass off to get there. So I can see
it a little bit. It took a lot. You know, that's all I do. Every time I sit in here, I'm just like, what needs to be fixed, you know, or what needs to be clean, or what needs to be adjusted. And I can't stop, dude.
It's like kids, man, right?
Yeah.
Kids are doing great. I'm like, oh man, she should be. All right, well, I'm gonna tell her, you know.
Oh, you have kids?
I got kids.
How many?
I got two. I got two daughters. They're 13 and 11.
Oh, teenager.
Yeah. Oh, and she's full on teenager, man. She's
Does she still like you?
She's very much like me.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So I can vibe with. I can relate to her. She's into really unique music and art and all these things that my wife is just like, I have no idea what the hell she's talking about. And
it's good for you, man.
Yeah.
2 daughters.
I took her to last week. We went to Willie Nelson's Outlaw tour.
Oh,
so we didn't stay long enough for Willie Nelson because she had to be at school the next day. But we saw Bob Dylan. She loves Bob Dylan, and I love Billy Strings, bluegrass. So we went to that, and we had a good time, man. It was. I've taken her to a few concerts, but like a festival style, especially Willie Nelson. She saw some things.
Does it smell like weed?
For sure. Yeah. There's one time I looked over, she had her shirt over her nose, and I'm like, that's probably
good. Yeah. At least she wasn't like
just bringing it,
taking it all in.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, a place like this, I mean, it's your baby. Like this is, you know.
I mean, I can't believe this is what it looks like right now. But my wife and I, we always just think how crazy it is, you know, every time we're in here. And I'm just glad this is where we are.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, dude, you guys are making a splash. We featured a few issues ago in our sushi issue.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Luke talks to everybody he can about you guys.
Thanks, Luke.
Yeah. Well, so let's go way back. So where are you from originally? Where'd you grow up?
I'm originally from Korea.
Okay.
Yeah, I moved here when I was 9.
Gotcha.
I moved to California.
Okay.
Migrated to California. I'm from California. I came here when I was 11 in 91.
To Arizona.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've been here since 1991, man.
Okay.
Yeah, most of my life now. So.
In this area? In like this?
No, I grew up in the East Valley.
Okay.
In Mesa.
Gotcha.
Went to all my schools in Mesa.
Yeah.
And then I got a job, you know, with sushi, and then it started at Scottsdale, and then it started like migrating more west, and then this is as far as I think I'm gonna go.
Oh yeah.
I'm like dead center. You know, I'm glad I'm away from Old Town, but I don't want to go too west. You know?
Sure.
And I like the neighborhood, so.
It's a big city, man. Like Phoenix Metro is massive, dude.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, and like land mass wise, like it's you know. You have friends down in like Santan Valley. I'm like, dude, it takes me like an hour to get
that's
here.
too far, man.
It is.
I mean, I get it. It's new, but it's so far.
So growing up, like, what was your who was Kevin the kid? Like, were you always in the food?
You know what? No Asian kid.
No?
Yeah, no Asian kid wants to grow up to be a chef.
Really?
Okay. Yeah, that's just like so frowned upon. Even when I did get it, you know, my parents felt so bad for me, you know, just because of the place that we were in, and I just had to do the job that was given to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just grew up normal kid, you know, normal family, and you know, but my family had like, you know, pretty big falling out, you know, towards the later teenage years of my life, and then I kind of like moved out on my own since I was 19.
Yeah.
And I was just roaming around. When I turned 23, I felt like, I got to do something. My friends were graduating from college. I skipped college. And so I was looking around for jobs, and I knew some people who was sushi chefs.
Okay.
And I saw that they were making a lot of cash at the time. So I just applied to every sushi bar that I could, but nowhere hired, and I went in there, dude. I was like, dude, I'll do anything. I'll do anything. I'll wash dishes. I'll do anything. I just needed a job, but they turned me down. I was pretty depressed. And then a friend of mine invited me out to go like have beers.
Yeah.
And when I went to meet her up, my old boss was there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like a previous, not in the industry.
Yeah. Well, he was a head chef at the time of Raw.
Oh, okay.
And then I've met him like once, like many years before. So when I met him at that meeting, he was like, "Hey, where have you been?" And I was like, "Dude, I need a job. Can you give me anything?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Dude, come do sushi tomorrow." So that's how I started.
Like at the restaurant?
Yeah.
Like so you were willing to do anything, wash dishes.
I had like no kitchen experience at all.
Yeah.
Not even one restaurant experience, but he came in, he's like, "Do sushi." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I showed up. I showed up my first day. He took me. He like just takes me to the back, introduced me to the prep guy in the back. And he's like, "Well, here you go." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I just sat there, like language barrier. He didn't speak English. I didn't know a lick of Spanish at the time. And I just had to watch him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just started from there, man. And here I am.
Here
20 some years later, that's all I know how to do. And I don't even know how to cook anything else.
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't even know how to cook an egg until like last year.
Really?
Yeah, because my wife had to show me. Actually, my 9-year-old son knows how to cook an egg, and he's like showing me how to use a pan and how to heat it up. So I always say, I'm not a chef.
Yeah.
Sushi's just what I learned how to do, and here I am, man.
Was there something about sushi, like, so when you go back to, and that's interesting too, the language barrier, right? Because obviously there's disadvantages to that, but also there could be some advantages to that, I would think, right? Like just being able to observe it, because I'm a visual person, right?
Uh-huh.
When people try to start explaining stuff to me, I'm like, my eyes go cross and I can't,
Yeah.
where I'm like, just show me. And then when I see it, but that's just, my naive.
Yeah,
thinking.
it was tough,
Yeah.
I liked the fact that I had a job, so I was really excited and I wanted to learn, but it was very, very tough because you don't know how to use a knife.
Yeah.
So now you don't think twice about using a knife, but at the time, like every movement you have to like really think of, and it took me quite a bit, and I learned it by cutting shrimp.
Okay.
At the time, and at the time I hated making shrimp, but in hindsight I was like, that's what actually taught me how to use a knife. Yeah. So I just feel like the entirety of the steps that took me to get here, I really dreaded it. I enjoyed it when it was good, but there was a lot of times I dreaded it. But I feel like everything pretty much taught me what I needed to learn to have this business. So I'm like pretty grateful,
So all the steps along the way, you're like, man, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly prep, right?
Sure.
Yeah, I feel like doing the work and making the tickets is pretty easy, but it's the prep.
Yeah.
There's just so much prep, dude. And Raw was pretty big at the time. It's the one in Awatuki.
Okay. Yeah.
So there was just massive prep. And then it was like getting used to learning how to work with people. I wasn't really good at working with people. I couldn't like communicate well. I wasn't good at holding my frustrations, so it was just like everything was new, but luckily everybody was patient enough to like really help me through it. And I had some good teachers.
I do. Yeah. I wish like I would have been a fly on the wall. I know you didn't necessarily do an interview.
Yeah.
But like their interviewer, like, okay, how are you with people? Not good. I'm not patient.
Yeah.
How are you with a knife? Not good. Cook me an egg. I can't.
Yeah. I mean, it was like I was at the right place at the right time, and I couldn't believe I got a sushi job because I was looking for anything, you know, but to learn how to do sushi, I was like, oh my God, I didn't want to quit, you know. I had nothing else to hang on to.
Okay.
Because I didn't have school. I didn't know any other skill.
Yeah.
So I had to do something, man. And then it really helped me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So your reason for sticking to it was lack of other options?
Yeah, I had like nothing to fall back on.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is that called when you're just sleeping on friends' couches? Like friends let me stay on their couches.
Yeah.
You know, for almost 3 to 4 years, I stayed with different friends, and I finally got this job, and he took me to the job. He like hired me at Raw, but then he also let me know, hey, like a couple years down, we're gonna make this sushi place called Stingray. So just stay here and then just, you know, stick it out. And so it also gave me like that little hope of like, hey, there's gonna be something more, some type of progress.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So I just hung on, even though I hated it in the beginning. Yeah, I hated everything in the beginning, man. I was like, I just had good attitude, but also I'm just like, man, this sucks, you know?
Yeah.
But
I can get that though, man. Cause I mean, honestly, I didn't have I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing. I mean, it's, you know, I talk to my friends and family back home and they're like, why did it take you so long to realize you were meant to eat and drink first? Because that's what I've been doing my whole life, right? You know, I've been known for being the eater and all this stuff, but I kind of floundered. I mean, up until I was probably 38 when when we started doing podcasting and, you know, getting into craft beer. So I kind of get that. Cause like, I mean, dude, from 18 to 38, in a 3-year window, I had like 20 some jobs, in Ohio, just trying to figure things out. And I can see the draw of that of like, okay, this has got something. There's something to this. There, you see that, you know, you see Stingray, you see that potential future. And so it's, you know, I get that because I was a blank slate myself, you know, and
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know what I wanted to do. You know, it just even coming up to this restaurant, you know, just our restaurant having some type of quote unquote success the past year, you know, I started planning more of the future. But until then, it was just, you know, hey, by next year, I'm just trying to get to here. And the year after, I couldn't like plan years down. Yeah. You know, but now when I think about it, it was every step was like trying to teach me something to get here. Sure. So now I'm 45 now. I just turned 45 and I feel more like, okay, you can just let go of the wheel and try to do the best you can for the day. Yeah. And don't try to get so up when it's good and don't try to get so down when it's bad. And it's just all kind of part of the process, which sounds so cliche, but I feel like that's just the way it is, man. You know, you can't really, I don't know what the future holds, you know, too much. Are you very much in the present type of person? Like you? No, I'm always back and forth. You know, I can always look back and like feel really grateful, and I can always look to the future and be anxious. Yeah. You know, I can't say I'm on the present. I mean, I try to be. Yeah. But I don't know. I've never really met someone who's like, yeah, I'm in the present. You know? Yeah. Like I feel great. Yeah. Yeah. So they're full of shit, they say the whole time. Right? It's like, oh, good for you, man. You know, just like, you know, that's the human struggle though, right, man? I mean, we know that being present is good, and we know this, but dude, doing it like in action is, you know, and you know, we're all kind of going through this journey, just figuring things out, you know? Yeah, and having the business really taught me, man, when it's slow, well, in the beginning, when it was slow, I mean, you just have a pit in your stomach, you know? And you just think of all the things that can go wrong, and then they're all just crumbling down at once. But then when it gets busy one day, you're just like, I'm rich. Yeah. You know? So you're just constantly like up and down. And finally, just after, I'm just like, man, I can't do the roller coaster, you know? So one thing I like really taught myself how to do is like, hey, if it's really busy, that was awesome. Yeah. But tomorrow, who knows? The shop can close tomorrow.
Yeah.
You just never know, you know? So just like do today the best.
For sure.
You know, yeah.
Yep. So maybe you are more present than you are in the moment.
Yeah, I have to be, you know, because
yeah.
usually like I tend to take it home as well.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
so if I had like a crumbly day, then, you know, I got to take it home, and now I have kids and a wife, and, you know, I don't want to take that to them.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I like really try to like sit here and like just process it all and then take it home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take a couple deep breaths.
Yeah.
Find your center a little bit. Yeah.
I know. But
so through this journey of raw, and then obviously then Stingray,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
like
yeah.
so like what is it like when you're learning to do sushi? Like are there, you know, you think of like the French, you know, French cooking techniques and that, you know, what do they call the brigade style, whatever. Is there a set process when you're learning sushi? Like first thing, learn how to do the rice. Second thing, like is there a process, or what was the process
The process was, one, I had to learn how to make rice, yes.
Okay.
You know, but you learn all the prep at once, and then once you can get the prep down, make it nice and clean, you know, they move you up to the line, and then, you know, my first experience was I get to the line and they were like, hey, make a California roll, right? Somebody shows it to me, I make it. It took me like a few minutes.
Yeah.
And a few minutes to make one roll is actually a long time.
Okay.
Right? If you actually sit there and count 2 minutes. So I made my first roll, and they were like, okay, well, the goal is to make a California roll under 1 minute, you know, cut and plated.
Yeah.
And at the time, that just seemed like crazy, you know? So,
Yeah.
but then I was a roll maker for about 2 solid years. Even like I was at Raw 1 year. And then even when I moved to Stingray, all I made was rolls. But I think that really taught me to be good at one thing before I moved on to the next one.
Yeah.
You know, now when you get a new guy, you have to teach him pretty much, you got to like move him along. I don't think a lot of people that's starting out in this industry right now has the patience to really do one thing for a long time.
Yeah.
So I try to teach them as much as you can, but sushi it didn't give me that TV chef like experience.
Okay.
You know, when you watch like French cooking, honestly, I know nothing about French cooking.
I just told you all that I know.
Yeah, yeah. So like, I wouldn't know what does entail, but sushi was it just made me feel like I can get good at something, and then I can keep doing it.
Yeah.
And good enough where I didn't want to quit to do something else because I saw my slow progression.
Yeah.
But never good enough to be like, oh, I want to be like the best sushi chef in the world, you know? Because I was good at making the menu for Stingray.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Even though when I head chef for them, it wasn't like I was creating menus. I was just good at working their system to make sure that they're efficient. Okay. You know, and I make costs and the business side of things. And, you know, when, you know, everything ended with Stingray, and I like immediately went from Stingray to Roca Accor. Okay. I don't know if you know Roca Accor, but when I walked into Roca Accor, it was like real, like French, high-end, just type of vibe. It was like, yes, chef. Oh, you know, you got to answer right away. And, you know, it was just like all the real restaurant lingo I didn't know. Yeah. You know, they were like, go grab a hotel pan. I had no idea what a hotel pan was. I was like, what's a hotel pan? It's like, it's the big one, you know? And I was like, oh, okay. And everything they do, it was like really by the book, by the grams, by the time, you know? So it was like a whole new learning experience. But I feel so fortunate to go from Stingray to Roca because it really taught me quality control and how to be efficient in a busy environment. Sure. I mean, Stingray, I had to learn to be efficient as well, but here it was like an entire different system to be efficient. So, yeah.
So did you make different stuff then at Roca?
Roca, I made one thing.
Oh, what'd you make?
Yeah, I always ask for the salad station.
Okay.
They have different stations at Roca. Like, if you go to the sushi bar, there's one guy who just rolls the rolls, passes it along. One guy who tops the rolls. Another guy who cuts the rolls and plates the rolls.
Oh, wow.
But at Stingray, I did all that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And also one chef who only makes sashimi and nigiri, the fancy platters. So after working, some of the basic stations, in between the robata station and the roll station, there's a salad station, which is very not visible to the chefs.
Yeah.
Right? I can just do one thing. It was very easy for me.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to be too in the what's that called? Visibility of the chefs.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was pretty hidden and I liked that spot. So I usually took the salad station, and that's where I met X, because he worked in the robata station right next to me.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's all I did. That was like my station of choice.
Yeah.
And then I left there to open a poke shop.
Okay. When was this? Approximately what year was this?
Stingray was over 2016.
Okay.
I went to Roca, I think end of 2016 to throughout 2017, we were trying to open up a poke shop. So the process took about a year and something.
Okay.
So 2018, we opened a poke shop in Gilbert, and then, I was there till maybe 1 year.
Okay.
And I had my learnings of having a partnership.
Oh,
yeah. And it was a rough
Yeah.
patch.
Dude, I get that. I got a great
It was a
business.
rough patch.
Luke's a great business partner, man. We always talk how grateful we are and how
It
how
is,
rare
man.
it is
It's hard to
find-
come by.
Yeah,
it
is.
And I always hear those stories about, partnerships not working out. And I totally thought this would,
Yeah.
we've known each other, I got to say, a decade at the time. And he's seen my kids grow up. Well, not grow up. I had one. My lady was pregnant with our second. And then it just ended so abruptly, man. That one really hurt me to the core, and put me in a rough patch to kind of try to figure it out, and I didn't know what to do. And that's when I learned to start the business.
Like on your own. Like, I'm
Yeah.
going to just do that. So, yeah.
Because the partnership was falling, right? And then I knew I couldn't stay, but I didn't know what else to do. So at the time, a lady came into the poke shop and was like, hey, you should take your shop and do these catering opportunities in business offices. And I was like, oh, I've never heard of those. And she's like, yeah, just come out. You only serve lunches. But we did two from the poke shop. And I went, you just set it up. They come, you sell for 3 hours, and then whatever you make, you take home and you give the company a percentage.
Yeah.
But I remember doing that, and I was like, okay, then I'm just gonna do this, right?
Yeah.
I had to quickly try to figure it out, because we had a baby coming and I had no income, I had to call my dad, ask him for some help. And luckily he did. But that's when I learned how do you start a business?
Yeah.
And you set up LLC. And I thought I was good to go. And I called the company, and they're like, no, you need GPT. And I was like, what is that?
Google TPT.
So I Googled TPT, and I got the TPT, and I was like, oh, I'm ready now. And they're like, well, where's your insurance? I was like, what insurance? So
Yeah.
I looked up insurance, and I got some type of insurance, and they're like, oh, this is not gonna work, So I'm like, I'm stuck in this one hurdle.
Yeah.
But this just goes to me usually telling the guys, I'm like, hey, you gotta be just nice to everybody, right? Because you never know how tables are gonna turn.
Yeah.
But when I was at Stingray back in 2004, right behind there was a jewelry store. And the jewelry store had a son who was 10, right? And he used to come in for lunch, and I used to just give him just rolls, right? Because he wanted to order the rolls, but I'm like, no, I could just give you a Cali roll here and there, So I gave it to him. But I met him then. But in 2018, he's become an insurance agent. Yeah. And I just reached out to him, like, because I seen him on Facebook. I was like, do you know anywhere I can go to get this insurance? And he was like, dude, we actually don't give insurance to caterers unless you're a brick and mortar. But he's like, let me find somebody for you.
Yeah.
Dude, and then he got me the insurance.
Nice.
I think without him, I don't know how I would have started then. So I got the insurance. And then I got the business permit to operate. And then I started. And then while I was technically working at the poke shop, I started taking on catering events. And then that's where my business experience started, man. It was just everything. It was like a door closed for me, and then I had to like figure out to do something. And even this, you know, it's because of COVID. So many things has just kind of like pushed me towards a path I had to go. Yeah. Instead of like being at my choice of like, hey, I'm gonna choose to do this, you know? And I had no choices, man. But I think without it, I don't think I would have made the choices to do this.
That's very interesting about the insurance thing too, because it can be just those little things, like with our book. Yeah. Like for us to get our book into places like, you know, Barnes and Noble and some of the bigger places, like even some smaller bookstores, you got to kind of go through this process of submitting it to this specific company that then catalogs it and lists it, and they can order it from it, right? Simple, right?
Yeah.
No. They make it so hard, right? So it's like there's this barrier there, which is, and I'm a problem solver by nature. And like I said, I got a really great business partner and Rachel on our team and Paige on our team. Like we have this really great group of people that we're gonna figure these things out, right? Yeah. And over the last week, I've made some progress. Like, all right, you can figure this out, but you don't even think of those things. You're like, all right, man, we make this cool book, make this good food. Okay, cool. I got my LLC now. Like, no, you need this too. Okay, cool. Now you still need this.
Yeah, you know? It was such a learning process. Yeah. But honestly, now I've done it enough to have like all those failure experiences. Yeah. You know, I didn't want them, you know, like, you know, when you hear those stories, they're like, oh, you failed 1,000,000 times. But nobody wants to do that. You know, I just want to make it, you know, but
you have to though, right? It's like, and you can't plan to fail, right? Like, all right, here's what I'm going to fail at, so I can get the experience. It's
even this, when we were trying to open this, it was COVID, right? Yeah. We just sold our house before, so we were sitting on like a small bit of change. We're sitting on like, I don't know, we had about 30 grand in our bank. Start of COVID, first lockdown. Yeah. And then, you know, I was making the sushi and then, you know, driving it around town and delivering them because that kind of picked up for us. But I knew it wasn't gonna last, you know, and
the lockdown, you mean,
no, like me doing the catering. Oh, yeah. And that's where, you know, I was trying to borrow money. So I was looking everywhere, man. I checked banks, but they weren't giving out money during COVID, you know? So I was like asking some of my friends who already had businesses, and I couldn't get any, you know? And I like went to my wife and I was like, I don't know how we're gonna do this. Cause I've already signed the lease.
Oh, so you made the decision to transition from catering to opening up Sushi Friend.
My friend came here to look at the spot, right? He didn't want to take it, but he was like, hey, there's a hood here. Like it was a restaurant before. Yeah. So he's like, you should call and see. And then I called, I looked and I saw it. And then he was like, somebody else was coming here to sign, but do you want to sign? I don't know if that was true, but I was like, yeah, I'll sign. But I had like nothing planned, you know? And then we signed the lease, and then I started looking for money and I didn't know what to do. And, you know, my lady at the time, who's a very conservative person, but she was like, oh, you should just spend what we have. I was like, are you sure? You know, because we don't know when this thing's gonna end, you know, with COVID. And she was like, yeah, just spend it. And then I was like, okay, so I like looked for contractors. We couldn't find one, you know, like I had one that never called me back. I had one who turned me down, and then.
Turned you down? Like
yeah, he looked
like
at he looked at the building and he
Yeah.
was like, dude, we can't do this, you know? And I was like, but I need to, you know? And then
Was it not occupied at the time, or what was it like?
it wasn't occupied and it was in very bad shape.
Okay.
Yeah. He's just like, you almost have to red tape the building. That's what he said.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is that? And he says that you have to pretty much say that you can't occupy it and then the landlord has to fix it. And I was like, dude, I can't wait.
This lease has been signed. Like,
Lease has been signed. Yeah. And I was like, dude, I
He's
cannot
telling
wait.
you
Yeah.
This thing is condemned.
He's like, well, I can't work on it.
Yeah.
So I finally found someone who was like, okay, well, let's turn in the first permit. And then if we pass, then we'll check the plumbing. And then if we pass that, then we'll, just do a step by step.
Yeah.
But after building it all, now, when I look back, I'm so glad we didn't take on any money. We didn't take on any investors.
Sure. Yeah.
There's nobody else we have to think about. So I think in that sense, I'm very grateful, even though at the time it was so bleak.
Yeah.
I was like, even when we just passed the inspection, I think the inspection lady felt so bad for me because she came in and she was like, is this it?
Yeah.
Because I only had one single door refrigerator, one single door freezer, and then I had the deli station.
Okay.
And then she's like, are you sure like this is it? And I was like, yeah, this is it. And I really need to pass, So, and she was like, she just gave me very minimal things because I don't think she could pass me like, okay, you can pass. She's like, just, fix the door and then move your station over here and then call me and then I'll pass you.
Yeah.
And then I called her the next day and she passed me, dude. I yelled like crazy in here. I was like, yes. It's like, give me a hug, And she's like, no, I can't give you a hug. And I was like, dude, thank you so much,
Yeah.
And we barely got it open. And, when we opened, I had nothing in here.
Was it just that side?
Yeah,
First?
it was just that side.
Okay.
I had I didn't have forks or spoons. I had no water, no chairs, no tables.
Yeah.
Nothing, dude.
And it was just you, right?
Yeah, it was just me.
Set up for just you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know why. I was happy, man. I was I used to just sit in the middle with the chair, inside the kitchen because it was so slow, looking out the window, just, man, this makes me feel good.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. Yeah.
The pressure started coming in when, I had my friend on and then he wanted to be full time. And I was like, oh, now we have to make something, because besides it was just me. So I had no pressure.
Yeah.
But once the guys started coming in, it becomes okay, we have to do something. You know? So I don't know why I dragged your story on that far. I'm sorry.
Dude, that's that's great, man. That's what people want to hear. People want to hear that heart and soul and that struggle and those. Yeah. And for the folks that are watching on video to see your face, because you relive those things, right? You can see it, and it's always interesting too when we talk to people about their businesses because they're thinking about things that maybe they hadn't thought about in years, like little details and stuff like that. So, dude, it was the perfect length of the story. So
I know. I was like, now when I think about it, it makes me nervous still, thinking about that moment. But after, all the things that's happened since we've opened, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
I can't believe we're still here and doing as well as we could be doing. And,
sure.
My guys are still here. My guy that was here in the beginning is still here with me. Which is kind of hard to see in the industry, For
sure.
Yeah. So I feel grateful, man. I'm just like,
just breathe it.
Just
breathe,
the relief of yes, I'm still here,
Well, what was the menu at the beginning? So what did you start off with?
Oh, so the menu, it was whatever I could make with the stuff I could order.
Okay.
So I went into it. I went into making the menu with whatever the limited items I could have. So, I know the cost that it needs to be, as in the percentage.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, so if I bought, let's say at the time I had to buy frozen tuna, frozen hamachi, salmon, I carried shrimp. So I just and the basics of crab mix, spicy crab, spicy tuna. I think those are what I had.
Okay.
And eel. So it was like, hey, what can I make with this that can give me the cost that I need? And also that takes about a minute to 2-3 minutes to make.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm making it on my own. I know I can't make an extensive, crazy item that's gonna take me a while. So it was just basically like California rolls, all the basics.
Yeah.
I didn't want cream cheese, so I didn't do that. And then the seared salmon roll, my bread and butter to this day.
Yeah.
And just very simple rolls, like rainbow roll. I had a poke roll that I was making, and then fire dragon. I had a roll from Stingray I really liked.
Okay.
That I put on. So that was it.
Was it all rolls?
No, I just rolled tuna, yellowtail, salmon, nigiris, and sashimis.
Yeah.
And I was making platters before the shop opened.
Okay.
So I think that's what I brought to the shop.
Yeah.
I was like, anytime you go to a grab and go sushi bar, they have those individualized things, but not like a platter you can take home to a family.
Okay.
And
like just a little, like 10, 12 pieces.
Yeah. And initially when I made the restaurant, my whole purpose was we have little kids and it was COVID, so you can't go to the restaurant, right? So it was, how can I make something just as good, but more accessible and more easy for families to consume?
Sure.
You know? So I kept the platters, and then I tried to make the price point at the best as I could at the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what helped us. It's the platters.
Okay.
And then that was it. And then I was just trying to be nice as possible, right?
Yeah.
So in the beginning, I was like, just giving them anything I could, because I didn't have money for ads or marketing. So I was like, okay, well, this person, he's my marketing today, right? So if he likes my food, he's going to tell someone, and then if that person comes, I'll give him something, a little bit over the top so that he can go tell someone. And luckily, that's how it grew, man. And it grew slow enough for me to be able to handle the workload. And then once it got to this one point where I just got smashed, I sent out an SOS on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know this is so off, but I need help on the weekend, which is the worst days to ask for help from a chef.
Yeah.
But I was like, is there anybody who can help me? Because I have a bunch of chef friends on my list. And then Xavier, who was there, he's like, I think I can work for you. He actually just beat cancer, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Jeez, that's awesome.
That fool had cancer, I don't know, he just ended up beating it a couple months before I sent out that message.
Okay.
So when he came, he was freshly healed.
Yeah.
And he was just trying to get his body back into working again. And luckily, the pace was good enough for us to build on.
Okay.
Yeah, so it just all just happened very gradually in the right timing, right increments.
Yeah.
And I opened without telling anyone. I just unlocked my doors.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I need to fix something, I got to fix it during these times.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to tell everybody to come and then they come and then we just not do it. Well, I just not do a good job. And then that first impression is everything. So.
And everything. Taking the order, you take the order, ticket goes through, in the back, you pull the ticket, you make it.
So the whole concept was made for me to run by myself.
Yeah.
That's why we have the kiosk. Everything, I wasn't sure how people were going to take it. I don't know if they were going to be cool with ordering themselves. I don't know if they were going to be cool with to-go plates, but I couldn't do the dishes, man the register, man being a server. So it was hey, whatever hands I don't have to touch, I need to make it the way it is. But when people come in, they're like, oh, this is such a good concept. I was like, well, it was all done out of necessity. It wasn't like, yeah, this is gonna be the master plan of some crazy execution.
Kevin the innovator, man.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
that was cool, but it wasn't like that, you know. But I'm glad they like it now.
Yeah.
A lot of my industry peers come in and they're like, oh, this is actually
Yeah.
this nice. And I was like,
I see that at some places. There's a gelato place at like Scottsdale Road and Shea. I can never get the name right. It's like Aligera or something like that, dude. Phenomenal. Like was it frozen yogurt? I guess would be gelato. You know. But it's a kiosk. Yeah, you go up and you order like whatever you want. You want a cone, you want a bowl. But then when you get up there, they're like, all right, do you want to sample a few? So you've already gone through the process. Of and they don't have to ring you out. Everything is done right there, and it's, you know.
And I like the pressure of like ordering without somebody in my face. Yeah. For me. Sure. Right? It's like I have that time anxiety where I'm like, oh, do I have to make a decision like right now? And I just think that the percentage of customers who like the kiosk is way greater than those one-offs where they're like, oh, don't you have a regular menu? Like, don't we get a server? Yeah. I'm like, no, we don't, you know, but we'll try to help you as much as we can. Sure. Know? So it worked out. Yeah. I'm just glad it did.
So you open, things are rolling, and you had a couple of things that like really kind of put you on the map, right? Like they're really boosted.
Well, Diana really put us on the map. AZ Foodie.
AZ Foodie, yeah.
Everybody knows AZ Foodie, you know, when you start. And I've only known her as a name, AZ Foodie. But then I remember checking her name one time and it was Diana. I forgot what her last name was.
Is it Red?
Rembrandt or something?
Yeah.
But then I had an order, Diana R, right? And I was like, I wonder if this is her, you know? Yeah. So I like made it as best as I could. And then I was like making rice and she finally comes in and I was like, I don't know what the process of her working is, but I was like, maybe she'll come in, she'll like ask me some questions, take some videos and then leaves. Dude, she was in here for like 15 seconds. Yeah. She like comes in, she's like, oh, I was like, here's your food. She's like, oh, thank you. And I like went back to making my rice and then she left. And I was like, oh. I was kind of,
man, she saw me and she didn't.
I was kind of bummed, you know? And it was like a Friday and X left town that Friday. That's how slow it was. Like I could do the weekend alone. Okay. And then Friday I worked the shift and then I went home and I opened up Instagram because that's when I usually answer some questions. It went crazy, dude. Really? Yeah, it was like, she posted us, you know, which I still have on the top of my IG page, but she posted us and I think we just had like, they couldn't really keep track of how many people wrote me messages to how many people were following. I just know that we had about 3,000 that I've built over 2 years of even catering and then doing that. But that weekend she bumped us to like 6. Wow. Yeah, and then I got scared, you know, because we're hitting Saturday and people were already like, oh, we're gonna try to make it there. So when I got here on Saturday, dude, it was full. It was full. And then I just went on the gram and I was like, okay, we're gonna close early today, you know, because I wasn't sure if I could handle it. But we opened at 11 and whatever the limited items I had, we sold out at 1. Wow. And it was perfect timing because he was getting much healthier and he's like, okay, now I'm willing to work full time. And I was like, I don't know if we even make enough for you to come full time. You know, I don't know if I can do that, but you know, I appreciated him for coming to help me. And I was like, you know what, just come on and let's just roll the dice, you know? Yeah. And then hopefully we'll get busy and then we can make it. And then not even a couple weeks later, Diana came. Yeah. And then she got us to the point where 2 of us can work full time and then maybe one other guy can come.
Yeah.
So we were kind of off incrementally from then on.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was 2022 summertime.
Yeah.
You know, and then 2023 we got that Yelp. You know,
What was the Yelp? What was the Yelp thing specifically?
We didn't have a phone at the time, so I think Yelp was trying to reach us, but Yelp reached us through email. And Yelp always like sends you emails if you're a business. They're like, oh, we'll try to help you like do ads. But then I got this one email. They're like, hey, could you give us a call? Like there's some award and you're in there, right? And I was like, oh, sweet. So I called and they're like, oh, we're doing like a top 100 sushi spots in the nation and you're in, right? And I was like, what, for real? And I was like how? They're like, it just goes off by the positive reviews, you know? So even if you have a limited, whatever good reviews had as a whole, then they decide, right?
Okay.
So I was telling X, I was like, dude, if we get like 47, because that's my lucky number.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll be freaking happy.
Yeah.
You know, with that, we made it. But they called us about a month before and they're like, hey, like it actually ended up being top 25 and you're still in.
Yeah.
I was like, sweet.
Yeah.
You know, so we were like stoked, man. And then I think 2 weeks before, they're like, dude, it's actually only top 10 and you got 3. Dude,
Shit.
it was. I didn't care if it did anything outside,
Yeah.
but for X and I, we were excited, man.
Hell
We were
yeah.
just like happy in here. I was like telling my wife, you know, I know it's only Yelp, but how crazy that was for us, because how do you even know we're here, you know? Like nobody really knows we were here at the time. And then we get the award, it comes out, and we're just like enjoying it ourselves and nothing happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing happened for about a week. And then the Monday after, I like checked the sales and it was like something like more than we do on a weekend.
Yeah.
So I like rushed over because I wasn't working. It was an ex and another friend of mine. And I was like, what happened? Dude, he's like, we don't know, you know, we don't know what happened, but it was crazy, you know? And then we found out that KTAR posted us. Yeah, so you can like see who listens to certain different radio stations because, you know, KTAR has their demographic. And then I think the next day it was either Channel 3 or Fox 10.
Yeah.
But every day of that week, a new station covered us.
Yeah.
And so by that weekend, dude, we were dying, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, I felt very fortunate, but I also felt inadequate to do that rush, right? Because
Didn't feel prepared for it.
we weren't prepared at
Yeah.
all because it was Friday, it was August, it was hot, you know, and our door opened that day and it didn't close. That's how many customers there were.
Yeah.
Right? So I only say that to say it was very hot
Yeah.
and it was only that front. So it was extremely, extremely hot. Our AC busted. Like it like shut off 3 times. Our power went out like 3 times.
Yeah.
Our, you know, kiosk shut down. Our online shut down. So it was just like, at the end of the day, we all went to like Tacos Chivas or something, and we're just like sitting there like, what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
You know, like how do you solve it?
Yeah.
You know? So at the time I was so scared, dude. I was like, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know how to fix it. Right? And this could really break us if we don't do well. So we just figured like we just shut off online early and we're just like, we'll just be extra nice, extra kind, make sure everybody's touched. But we made it, man. And we didn't really get too many bad reviews.
Yeah. Too bad. A few here and there, right?
Yeah, we had a few, you know, but and most of it was this place is too small, you know, the parking lot's too dirty. And
yeah,
I was like, I know, those are just facts, you know?
Yeah.
As long as you're not saying we treated you horribly, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy.
For
you
sure.
know? So
yeah,
yeah, we just kind of like chugged along since then.
yeah.
And then that really helped us build slowly again, you know? And now we're here.
It's something you kind of don't plan
2025.
for, right? Like I come from like a very blue collar background. So the idea of starting a business is always like, the problem in my head is always like, all right, how am I going to get business?
Yeah.
You never think about like, all right, once things blow up,
Yeah.
how am I going to handle all of the business?
Yeah.
You kind of laugh about it, like, wow, yeah. But that is a real problem
Yeah.
because it's like, oh shit, man, like we're getting
really
rocked
is,
now.
man.
Yeah.
And honestly, in between those spurts of growth, I was really just digging into how to do advertising because it's not my specialty. I'm not a good seller.
Yeah.
You know, I can't like convince you to buy something you don't want to buy, right? But since we needed to do something, I was like YouTubing how to do Facebook ads, and like I was reaching out to some companies that like do automized marketing for you, but they were so pricey, and I was just thinking about it and like trying to learn it and trying to do it. And within that spurt, we get something, right?
Yeah.
And then I just realized, for me, like, oh, I'm a believer, right? I believe in God. And I just felt like you can try to do whatever you want to do, but I just feel like, you know, the man upstairs had way better plans for me, man.
Yeah.
And he really poured us some blessings like along the way. And
Sure.
it's just crazy to see, because all those times where I felt like I needed to do something, it just was given to us, you know, given to us at the right time, exactly when we needed it, to make sure everybody is good, everybody is paid, and the restaurant is good. And so now I'm just like, oh, thank you, man. You know, like we can just do what we can do, you know?
For sure.
Besides that, just like, I'm just rolling the dice.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we always say here. It's just like, even when we can't hire someone, but they need the work, we just bring them on and we're like, we'll just roll the dice and hopefully we get busy. You know? And it really has, like, we gambled on them and then somehow it just worked out.
Works out, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to drag this on.
Dude, this is incredible. No, man, don't be sorry about any of this.
Yeah.
Like this is gold. This is why we do what we do. I mean, at the cover of our magazine is the stories of Arizona food and beverage.
Yeah.
You know, so well, we're going to talk about a few other things. Let's take a quick break before we wrap up.
Okay.
A real quick reminder, head over to atasteofaz.com and subscribe to our email newsletter. Also, subscribe to A Taste of AZ magazine and get it shipped right to your door. Now let's get back into today's episode.
All right, so the sales aspect of it too is like I've always been in sales, and I've always kind of taken a different approach to it. I've always been like very kind of, I don't want to say non-traditional, but this way I do things is non-traditional, and in a way in many ways that's helped me be effective. So what you said from the beginning of like, giving people this great experience, and I mean that's really what it's all about, right? I mean that's word of mouth marketing 101 right there, right? Is like you don't trick people that then turns into word of mouth. Like it does, but not the good guy. This guy duped me, man. So you given that experience, I mean that's what it's all about, and it's that a customer experience, and look at how much that has really, I mean, that's done the sales for you, right? That's done the advertising and the marketing for you. So
it's helped for sure.
Yeah. So all right, so we got to talk a little bit about the food a little bit more, but specifically a cake.
Oh,
you do a cake?
Yeah.
Sushi cake? So what is a sushi cake?
A sushi cake is just, you make it on a cake mold and make it look like a cake. That's all. It's just exactly.
Yeah, that's it.
Exactly what it says. I mean, I was like really embarrassed to make it in the beginning, because I had, chef friends who were like, they're very hardcore sushi.
Okay.
Just every aspect of it. And so I was sitting there when somebody asked me, I was like, can you make this? And I was like, I really needed the money.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'll make it for you, right?
Yeah.
Why not? Because what do I got to lose, right?
Yeah.
It's not like I work anywhere. So I made it for them. Dude, they were so happy.
Yeah.
And then that one, the next week, somebody was like, can you make a cake for me? And then, can you make a cake for me? So when we opened the shop, it was, initially I could only make the cake, but then they actually started making the cake, and they make it so much better than me. Yeah, which is like very awesome. But yeah, it actually stuck. So people, they really enjoy it. Yeah, they really enjoy the cake, and we like making them. Well, not on a busy day, but usually we like making it and making it look nice. And I always felt like other restaurants were gonna start doing it just because there were so many requests. But I guess it's not anywhere. Yeah, so I'm just glad we're doing it for them, and they're happy.
And you slice it you get it like a piece of cake? Like, is that how you eat it?
Honestly, I've never eaten a sushi cake, but I've seen it done a couple different ways. Like, they'll cut it like a cake, and they'll do the slices, or they'll just, pick at it from the top, because it's just, layers of basic sushi and sashimi on top. So if they ask, I'm just like, you know what, it's however you want to eat it. If you want to cut it, you cut it. There's no rules, So just do whatever you got to do, but we'll make it for you. So that's how the cake came about.
What else? Like, what are some of the other like highlights? Because I remember I dropped off magazines one time. So, and thank you for carrying the magazines. But you were like, hey, dude, you want to? I was starving that day too, so I was like, yeah, I'll have something. You made me that bowl.
Oh, the X bowl, dude.
Yeah, the X bowl was incredible, man.
The X bowl. So that guy loves change, right?
Okay.
Like, he likes diversity.
Mixing things up and
So for a guy who eats so many different things all the time, or who needs to, he made this one bowl that he ate every day.
Yeah.
I mean, literally every lunch for about 2 years. And I was like, dude, what is it, right? And then he made it for me, and dude, it was freaking good. Right? So I was like, dude, we should put this on, right? And I was like, I'll give you a percentage of whatever this makes, right? So we put it on, we named it after him, we called it the Expo. And I still think it's a very balanced bowl, And it's got everything. It's got savory, it's got a little sweet, it's got a little, sour, and spice. Good balance, and it's probably our best seller so far.
What all's in the bowl itself?
Whew, it's got
everything. He just ran it through the line.
Tuna, salmon, spring sweet onions, chopped serrano, avocado, rice. It's got spring mix, poke sauce. It's topped with crispy onions and some yuzu onions and a side of cucumber salad. Dude, it's a lot. Yeah. And the best way to eat it is you got to do the X shake.
Okay.
Right? Usually people take it and, they eat it like a bowl, but X takes that and then he'll shake the crap out of it so that it mixes like a Chipotle bowl. Yeah, and then you kind of like mix it like a bibimbap, almost like a Korean bibimbap. But yeah, I mean, it's good.
I didn't do that. I didn't know about the X shape.
Yeah.
So I was,
Yeah, you gotta shake it.
Yeah.
Just close it and shake it.
Yeah.
Just let it flip around.
Yeah. Nice. Dude, that is something that would be made by somebody back in the house. The house meal, this is what I make. That's awesome.
It's really good.
What else? What else is, what are some of the other specialties you guys do? Or some of your favorites? Like, what do you?
My fave, what do I eat? Honestly, personally, I just like nigiris.
Okay.
I like fast.
Yeah.
I like easy. you know? So it's either nigiris or hand rolls for me. Sometimes I like a basic roll, like a spicy tuna with some sriracha.
Yeah.
But our seared salmon roll is probably our most selling roll.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's really, initially it was like made because when I was here alone, once I turned that flame on, it kind of let people forget about the wait for that split moment.
Okay.
So I turned the fire on, it's like, and people are like, oh, it's nice, right?
Yeah.
But it was also my way of like, okay, let me distract you from the wait for that moment, right? And then once I get back on, it's like almost refreshed. The weight has been refreshed. So that roll has been on, but people love it, man. It's just a simple roll. It's just spicy crab roll, salmon, spicy mayo, and torch, and eel sauce on top. Yeah. But it's been our best seller.
Yeah, which is nice though, right? It's nice to have something like that. Like, that's
now the guys like really don't like making it because it takes a while.
Yeah.
Well, now we're busy enough where that small moment of fire is too long.
Okay. Yeah.
But back in the day, it was perfect. That wait time of the fire. But now there's just like, oh, we got to take this off. I was like, no, we can't. You know, we can't take this off. Like, we just got to figure out a way to make everything else faster.
Yeah.
So it's still on there, sticking it out. Yeah.
That you don't tell them that it's your favorite though. That good. The reason we're keeping on is it's my favorite.
Yeah.
Damn it, Kevin.
Yeah. I like it because honestly, every creator that comes in, they'll shoot that.
Yeah.
Right? It's always the fire.
Yeah.
You know, and I like it. It's nice.
Have Luke do that too.
Huh?
I said we'll have Luke do the shoot that.
The seared salmon roll. They're so used to making it now.
Yeah. So, do you guys have any desserts? Are there any desserts on the menu?
Dude, Hershey?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay.
We call him Hershey.
Yeah.
He was like, I think I'm gonna make a ube creme brulee. I was like, yeah, make it. Right? He's like, we'll just make it like for the weekend and see how it do.
Yeah.
Dude, he made that and it's so like crack. You know?
Yeah. What is it again?
It's a ube, purple, creme brulee. He started with the creme brulee and it just kept selling out. It was kind of hard for him to continually make it.
Yeah.
And then he was like, I'll just make a cheesecake as well. But cheesecake was even more popular.
Yeah.
So now people get upset if we don't have those.
Yeah.
You know? But they're so hard to keep up. So I was like, maybe you just got to do a drop like 1 or 2 days because to keep that up every day is kind of tough. But he makes the desserts and he's been hitting them, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Even himself, I was like, did you think that you were going to have to do this? You know, he's just like, no.
Careful what you wish for type of thing, right?
Yeah, it's just crazy, dude. But for me, I feel like my success is really dependent on me having people who are better than I am, right? Yeah. Which even with the shop and me stepping out, I really wanted them to be the shop.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want my name and my face to be tied to the well-being of the shop at all, you know? So it's kind of nice, like X who's been here from the beginning, they get to be in the shop and then now Hershey's here. So most of the face that they see, they've seen.
Yeah.
You know, and then they actually make the shop good, you know? So I usually take their advice on, hey, we should do this and we should do that. I'm like, oh, okay. And doesn't hurt to try them all.
Yeah.
You know? So we try them all and then they don't like them, we take them off or we discuss. And the seared salmon's what I fought for.
Yeah. Seared salmon's not going anywhere.
Seared salmon's the one that I fought for. But man, I have good people, man.
Yeah, that's what's all about, man.
Hershey, I've worked since back at Stingray.
Okay.
You know, since he was like, I don't think he was even 18 at the time, you know? And X, I met at Roca. Sean, I met at Roca. BK, man, I've known him outside of work for, I don't know, a long time, like over 15 years maybe, you know? So it's most of the people that are familiar and we try to give them as much freedom as you want to have, you know? We set the hours because we hated regular restaurant hours.
Yeah.
you know. So most of it is like, most of them and we worked in quote unquote fine dining to a degree, and we just kind of eliminated the things we didn't like.
Sure.
You know, so it's like, yeah, we wear t-shirts and shorts, and you know, we serve everything on a to-go plate, but the quality is just as good.
Yeah.
You know, we try to serve you just as friendly, you know, and we really mean it. We really care that you have a good experience. And I don't know, I just like, I want them to enjoy the life, right?
Yeah.
And go home. Like if you close at 7, you can go out and eat dinner somewhere. You can meet somebody somewhere. If you have a family, you can go be with them as well. And
That's great.
yeah, it's just kind of just flipping it to, let's do the things that we like to do, but also let's like our lives as well, you know, and not be burnt out. And so that's just how we've been.
I dig it,
yeah.
man. I dig it.
Yeah.
And that last thing is the drinks. So you've got some good drinks here. I mean, the cooler there is filled with some good beers and some sake, and What do you guys do drink wise?
Nothing.
No. That's it.
Yeah,
What's in the cooler?
Dude, it's literally like whatever. We had like a bunch of different drinks in there, and then we just kept what sells.
Okay.
And then some of it is like, oh, it looks good in the shelf.
Yeah.
So we have those. So we tried a couple different, you know, just soft drinks like teas or sodas, but we kept the ones that kept selling.
Okay.
And then we brought in the sake, one that I like, one another chef likes, one, you know, my lady likes, and then the beers is what we can get from our distributors.
Okay.
So we carried a few beers. Some of them didn't really do well, so we carried the ones that did well. So it's just all trial and error.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like intentional of this is what we should serve them because of these reasons. It's like, hey, what are people grabbing? You know, because we might think they might like something, but it's just dead weight. You know? So it's just more, okay, let's just simplify. We don't have too much space, so what can we keep that they're gonna get, and then we have to refill.
Yeah.
So those are the drinks.
Dude, that's a great way to do it, though, right? I mean, because you can try. I mean, the market dictates, right? Like I say with any creative things, whether it's art, music, food, it's like you could have these ideas and like, here's what we're going to do. This is what we want to do. You can't force that on the market. The market's going to be like, I don't want that.
Yeah.
And
And especially like, oh, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
Yeah. But in Phoenix, I feel like the food scene is a bit different to where I always say you have to give them something familiar and then add something new for them to try. I feel like if you just do a brand new concept where they have to figure out what that is, it's tougher.
Yeah.
You know, so
for sure.
I'm always like, okay, we can try all these new things, but let's have something they can come in and they're familiar, and then we can just, you know, add something here and there, you know, for them to try and then get a new experience. Because I think just working in the industry, I think now like 22 years or something, yeah, Arizona's a different beast.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. You know, you could be some name brand somewhere else, and then you can make one here and it just might not do what you think it would do.
For sure.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. That's very true. I mean, we've seen over the last few years, like, you know, concepts coming from out of state, from California or whatever, that like all the signs on paper, it's like, oh, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
15 months later, they're closing down because it just did, you know, for one reason or another. Yeah.
And it seems like, man, that's why I just feel so fortunate that we're on our year 4.
Yeah.
I told the guys, I'm like, dude, if we make it like one more year, like we beat the statistics. You know? So I'm like, let's do like one more.
Yeah.
Before we like, I don't know, like crumble to the floor or something. But I'm like, if we do like one more, I'd be like, yes, you know, we beat it. Because it's tough. It's tough business. Yeah.
Yep.
And I feel for them, you know, and you can it's cool to have a cool restaurant, but I like it to last.
Sure.
You know, and I like the people working it to feel like it's theirs, you know, and not mine. So, yeah, I'm just glad. I know I say it all the time, but I'm just glad we're still here.
Yeah.
And I'm glad people still, give us good feedback, and the guys are fine, you know, and if they ever have complaints, they're very open to let me know, and then we can fix it along the way. So yeah, I'm pretty content.
Is there anything beyond that year? Like, what's the big picture look like? Or you're just like, nope, get me to year 5?
I mean, I have big picture just because we have the guys here now, If it was just me, I'm free now, but they need to see progress, and they need to grow, and they need to get to a place where they're free as well. So I don't know, we're just trying to figure it out, and then any growth we have, I discuss with them, because ever since we opened, people come in and they're like, hey, like, let's build another one, or hey, like, do you want to take investments, or hey, let's do this over here. And since I had that sour relationship with partners, and also, I don't want them to have another boss, right?
Sure.
So, and have to listen to somebody else, and then, have to answer to them. And I'm just like, I know it's a bit slower like this, but so far so good.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
For sure, man. I dig it, dude. Kevin, you're doing good shit here, man.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And before we wrap up, like, I mean, I've got the picture of it, of why, but Sushi Friend, why Sushi Friend? Why'd you name it Sushi Friend?
I was working under a name called Happy Fish.
Okay.
As a caterer, but when I went to go do the trademark, it was taken. It was taken by like some big fish company.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I was like, I didn't know what to do, and me and my lady are always I always call her my creative director.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. You need one
She'd
of those.
just be like, no.
Yeah.
No. And then we just couldn't figure one out, and she was like, oh, you should just call it Sushi Friend, because everybody calls you their sushi friend.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. But it just kind of didn't roll off the tongue for me.
Okay.
But I just kept it.
Yeah.
And it was available for trademark. So we took that.
Yeah.
And that's why. It's just my lady's idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, give credit where credit is due,
I
right?
do, man. That's why I always ask her, like, what do you think of this? No. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I just wait.
You need somebody like that.
Yeah.
It's like, that's me too. My wife is like, "What? Don't wear that shirt." I'm like, why? It's like, don't.
And the guys know me well enough. They're usually my no's.
Okay.
Because I'm always a yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this guy's so nice. That person's so nice. And we can do this. And they're like, no.
Yeah.
That person's not that nice, And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. They're just my gauge. And I have good gauges now. I trust my gauges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I dig it, man.
Yeah.
Kevin, thanks for having us in,
thank
man.
you, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely, dude.
Yeah.
Keep up the good work, man.
Thank you.
Yep.